Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon or this morning or this evening, wherever in the world you might be. I'm Coach Brad. It's always a pleasure to be here with you today. And I just want to take a few minutes. I'm going to talk with you today about how to keep weight off permanently using something I call intermittent eating. Now, you might be more familiar with something called intermittent fasting, but intermittent eating is something that I've come up with based on research of indigenous populations, native populations, how they ate, not what they ate, but how they ate, and more specifically, when they ate. And I believe that this is key to being able to keep weight off long term. Now, intermittent eating is very similar to intermittent fasting, and there is a lot of similarity and a lot of overlap, but there are two key differences, and I'm going to be talking about those two key differences here in just a moment. But I want to back up for a moment and just kind of say why I'm here and why I'm doing this. I know a lot of people out there who are watching this, who will watch this later on the replay, have probably at some point struggled with weight, with keeping it off, and with their energy. And those are two things that I struggled with immensely in the early part of my journey. You can always review my story and my journey, my podcast, Be Well, Be Safe, Be Happy, Eat Ice Cream, wherever you listen to podcasts. My very first episode, I talk about my journey. But over the last 13 years that I've been doing this, I've learned a couple of things about how to keep the weight off, not just lose it, but to keep it off, and also to what I call optimize our energy. We want to have this healthy energy. Lots of people have been successful initially with losing weight and getting more energy, but they relapse and don't know how to get back on, and then the weight comes back, and then they kind of go back to square one, so to speak, where they were at the very beginning of their journey. And so I'm here today to help with all of that. I know because I've been there. And so I want to help you be able to understand this whole idea about keeping weight off permanently, optimizing your health, and optimizing your energy. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to focus specifically on something I call intermittent eating. Now, intermittent eating is part of a three-step process, actually. If we want to keep weight off permanently and we truly want to have energy, and I haven't even gotten into spiritual energy yet. That's a whole another live feed. But if we want to talk about physical energy, just having energy that is off the charts, then we've got to do these three things and keeping weight off permanently. So I'm going to give you here, and I've just got a few minutes here to be with you today, but I'm going to give you something I call the ultimate formula. The ultimate formula for keeping weight off, the ultimate formula for really your best health, and the ultimate formula for having that most abundant energy. Again, like life is about energy, it's about being healthy, and it's about being happy. How do we do that? I believe this ultimate formula is the way to do that. The first step of the ultimate formula, like I said, there are three parts. So the first part is called, believe it or not, healthy eating. What is healthy eating? Whole foods. Okay. I'm not going to dive too much into whole foods today, but whole foods is a big part of this. So what do I mean by whole foods? Natural foods, if you can, organic foods, the fruits, the vegetables, the protein, the animal protein, the plant protein. I won't get into the animal versus plant protein debate, but having wholesome, pure sources as much as possible. That is the very first part of this ultimate formula to optimizing your health, to optimizing your energy, to keeping weight off permanently, is this idea of healthy eating and whole foods. If you want to know more about whole foods and specifically recipes and even meal plans and a guidebook, hit me up, send me a DM, because I'm going to be offering at the end of August a whole foods cleanse. We're going to spend a week. We're going to dive into a bunch of this. I've got a chart made for you about what to eat and what not to eat, all of that good stuff. Send me a DM, send me an email, info@trainingwithcoachbrad.com. We can chat a little bit more away from here about that whole foods cleanse. I'm also going to be doing a presentation specifically on my whole foods cleanse coming up probably in another week or week and a half. Stay tuned. I'll be making an announcement about that. So whole foods is the first part of this three-part formula. Now, the second part, what I really want to get into, I'm excited about this, is something I call intermittent eating. Okay. Intermittent eating, again, you're probably more familiar with intermittent fasting, but intermittent eating is a little bit different. So let me tell you the two key differences between intermittent eating and intermittent fasting, and why I much prefer intermittent eating. And I would highly recommend, as a health coach, someone who has studied indigenous cultures, not only what they eat, but how they eat and when they eat. I would much more recommend intermittent eating. Intermittent eating, very quickly, the two differences. One is the name itself. I am very big on vocabulary. The word eating excites me. I want to focus on positive psychology. I want to use a word that empowers me and that excites me. And so I replace the word fasting with the word eating. When I hear the word eating, I get excited, and that helps to motivate me, and it helps to keep me motivated to eat whole foods when I know I get to eat. When I hear the word fast or fasting, my psychology way down. I don't know about you, but that word scares me. Like, I don't want to fast for 16 hours, or who wants to do that? That's to me, that's crazy. So I wanted a shift in the psychology, something that positive I could really latch on to. So I changed the word fasting to the word eating. So intermittent eating, that's the first difference. The second difference, and this is critical, again, this is based on studying indigenous cultures, not what they ate, but when they ate and how they ate. Fasting will put you on a fixed schedule. For example, a very common one, for 16 hours, you will have no food. Certainly, you will still have liquids, though, water. And then it gives you a narrow 8 window to eat. Okay, that's a basic one example. There are other fixed schedules on intermittent fasting, but in the real world, life doesn't work like that. Like in our indigenous populations, they were never on a fixed schedule. They ate food when they had food, and they didn't eat food when they didn't have any food. Now, if you think about a hunter-gatherer society, yes, they were hunting and they were gathering, but they weren't always successful. A lot of times they would go hunting and wind up empty-handed. A lot of times gathering, they would get very little. So intermittent eating, and this is a key difference between intermittent eating and intermittent fasting, is based on a random schedule of eating. I'm going to talk about a random schedule eating more in my Whole Foods Cleanse. I've also got a training curriculum out now. It's available for purchase. If you're interested in that, it's called How to Keep Weight Off Permanently, and it goes into much greater detail, this entire formula I'm talking about here. But this random schedule, so for example, breakfast, lunch, and dinner don't exist in my world. I may have meal 1, 8 in the morning, or 10 in the morning, or 2 in the afternoon. It just really depends on when hunger ensues naturally, when I feel hungry. And I may have 1 meal that day. I may have 2 meals. I'm trained to the point now in my metabolism, I only need 2 meals. That's in part because I'm using fat for fuel now. I'll talk about that in the third part of the formula. But with intermittent eating, it's just a very random schedule. You'll start out with same breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but you'll start to vary that over time. Take away 1 meal, take away 2 meals, put the meals back. Very random, very random. So that's a big difference. And why do I think this is critical? Our metabolism. Think about it. Biological evolution, the evolutionary biology of our metabolism over thousands of years is based on this idea of a random schedule of eating. It's not based on a fixed schedule. It's based on a random schedule. That's why I like intermittent eating, and that's why I think it's so critical to keeping weight off permanently. Now, the third part of this ultimate formula, because I've got just a couple more minutes left here, and I want to get to this. Okay, it's called slow, easy cardiovascular movement. Now, what do I mean by slow, easy? Slow, easy. It's not. It's a phrase I've come up with, but the program behind it certainly is not new. Endurance athletes are very familiar with this, or at least they should be. This is the idea of using fat for fuel. Our bodies don't just automatically switch fat for fuel if, for example, we use keto diet, and that's one reason keto does not work. Okay, sometimes, yes, you can switch to a healthy fat diet, but if you're not training your metabolism, okay, your body doesn't just automatically switch like that overnight, okay? What we need to do is slow, easy cardio movement, okay? There's a formula for that. I'm just going to give it to you. It's called 180 minus your age, okay? When you are doing slow, easy cardio movement, it can be anything. Walking, that's the most common one, treadmill, being on a bike, anything like that. Slow, easy cardio movement will help you train your metabolism to burn fat for fuel if you're combining it with the intermittent eating and the whole foods. So again, that is the 3-step ultimate formula, I call it, for keeping weight off permanently, optimizing your health, and optimizing your energy. Very quickly, the first one, you've got to eat whole foods. If you want to know more about whole foods, hit me up, send me a DM, info@trainingwithcoachbrad.com. We can chat about it. I've got my whole foods cleanse coming up end of August. Be on the lookout for that. There's just going to be a few spaces, not very many at all. We're going to talk about whole foods more, what foods to eat. I'm also going to talk about intermittent eating. That's the second part of the ultimate formula. Again, intermittent eating is different than intermittent fasting. Intermittent eating is based on a random schedule of eating, not a fixed schedule. And then the third part of that ultimate formula is what I call the slow, easy cardio movement, using that 180 minus your age heart rate formula to train your metabolism to ultimately, over time, learn to burn fat for fuel. And when your body is using fat for fuel, take it from me and any endurance athlete who follows this, your energy is just off the charts. This is unlike anything that I can even imagine. You have the energy to go, go, go all day, kind of like I am right now. So there's also a spiritual component and some other things to energy, which I'll talk about later. But anyway, this has been Coach Brad. Thank you very much for joining me today. That's the 3-step formula for how to keep weight off permanently and optimize your health and optimize your energy. I'm always happy to hear from you. Please send me a DM. You can DM me at Facebook, Training with Coach Brad. You can DM me at Instagram, same handle, Training with Coach Brad. I've got a lot more information on my podcast. Be well, be safe, be happy, eat ice cream wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for joining me. And until next time, be well, be safe, be happy, eat ice cream. Take care, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye.